Hello grade 8s. This is the mathematics preparation paper which I will be discussing during this video. This video is to ensure that you have the right approach and the right mindset and know exactly what to do when you get to your math paper on the day. This is basically all you need to be able to prepare to watch this video and just to work through some of the calculations. And you'll be good at the end of the day. So let's go through the instructions. The question paper consists of 9 questions of different topics. You will have to answer all the questions. You must show all calculations. Please, very important, all calculations must be shown. You can't just give me an answer for 5 marks or 3 marks. You need to show me strategically and by step how you got to the answer. Your final answers will not necessarily be awarded full marks, as I've explained, and then number your answers correctly according to the numbering system used in the question paper. Don't deviate from the numbering system on the question paper, and then make sure that you create space for yourself and rule off after each question, meaning that you may have to draw a line. And then very importantly, you may use a calculator to assist you. Do not come without a calculator. You are going to have some problems during your examination when you come without a calculator. And then, of course, write neatly and legibly for us to mark your paper. So the first question that we're going to be looking at is data handling, and I'm going to highlight that. Data handling, and we're looking specifically at the graph here about Thabu's income and expenses for a period of 10 months. Okay, I just want to correct that, for 10 months. So here's a graph, and it's a bar graph, and there are certain questions that you need to answer. So if you look at the graph has the weeks on the horizontal axis and the rands on the vertical axis. Okay, and the green bars indicate the income and the red bars indicate the expenses. So you need to analyze the graph first and then you start with the question. So there are going to be 5 questions, and if you look at the questions, question number 1, what is the income for week 2? So you will have to go to week 2, there's week 2, and you look at the income, there's the income for week 2, and you'll see that would be 40 Rand, and that's what you're going to write down there, 40 Rand. What are his expenses for week 7? So you're going to go to week 7, there's week 7, and you're going to look at the expenses, which would be the red column, and that will go right up until 60, and that will be 60 Rand. Right? It's all 1 mark answers that you will find in this particular section. Which week is the income and expenses the same? So you got to scan and you will find that would be in this week over here, and there would be no other week where the 2 are the same. So that is going to be week 3. So you need to write there week 3. And then the next question, which week is the income 60 Rand? So you got to go find the 60 Rand. So that could either possibly be in week 4 where the income is 60 Rand, so you can write the week 4 / or it could be in week 8 as well where the income was 60 Rand. Which week are the expenses the lowest? And that you will have to go find all the red ones where it has the shortest line, and you will find in week 2 you will have the shortest line, and that will give you the lowest expenses during that particular time period. Okay, and there you have attained your 5 marks for the 5 questions that you've answered. Great stuff, and that will give you a total out of 5, which you will bag immediately once you have analyzed the graph in section or in the question 1 regarding data. We are continuing with question number 2, data handling, and this question refers to this table which was a test written by a particular class of 8 learners, and these were the test results, 11, 15, 8, 23, 15, 19, 14 and 9. So the first question is arrange the marks in the order from lowest to highest. So you're going to take number 8 out, and there you've done that number 8, comma, you take number 9 is the next one out. The next one is going to be 11, you take 11 out, and then you are going to take out 14, and then you're going to take out 15, and you will find that there are 2 15s, so I'm going to write 15 and another 15, and then you have 19, and the last one would be 23. So it's very important just to pull a line through each one so that you know you've covered. And then you check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that will be 2 marks, okay, which you've just done, putting it in ascending order from lowest to highest. Then you are requested to determine the mean. Now what is the mean? The mean, very important. We take all these values and you add the values. You add up, in this section here, you will add up all these values. 8 plus 9 plus 11 plus 14 plus 15 plus 15 plus 19 plus 23. And you need to write it out like that. 8 plus 9 plus 11 plus 14 plus 15 plus 15 plus 19 plus 23, and over the amount of scores 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 over 8, and eventually you are going to add that and it will give you 114 divided by 8, and your answer is going to be 114 divided by 8 gives you 14,25, and that is your mean there. Okay, then we're going to look at the median. The median is the mid number. If it's an odd set in the data, odd number set in the data, the mid number would form your data, but it has to be in the order of lowest to highest to be able to find your odd number or your mid number. So in this case, there are even numbers in the data set. So if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 on this side and 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side. Right? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side and 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side. So the 2 mid numbers then will be taken into consideration, which is 14, and you plus the 2, 14 plus 15, and then you divide it by 2. And 14 plus 15 is going to give you 29, and 29 divided by 2 is going to give you 14,5 as your median. Right, and that only happens if you have an even data set. If you have an uneven data set, there will obviously be one number in the center, which will serve as your median. Then the mode. The mode is the number that appears most in the data set. So if you look at the data set, you're going to find 15 is the mode, because 15 appears twice in the data set. And then 2.5, what is the range of the marks? The range would be where you take the highest value, which is 23, right? And I'm just going to move this up, minus the lowest value, which is 8. And 23 minus 8 is going to give you 15. So 15 would be your range. And that concludes the second part, or question 2 of data handling. We go to question number 3, and question number 3 deals with the area of 2D shapes. And we're going to look at the first 2D shape, which is a triangle. And they actually give you the formula here, and you are going to write the formula down where you say area. The instruction says calculate the area of the sketch below. So the formula you need to write down for 1 mark, area equals to half base times height, right? So the dot also refers to as a multiplication. So you can either write it like that, or you can write it out as a multiplication. So half base times height. 50 being the base, and I'm going to write it in there, that's my base. And this here refers to the height over there, which is 40. Okay, the alignment is slightly out, but that is 40 that you see there. So that's the vertical height, which you can also place here if you need to. So area is the unknown, or the subject of the formula, equals, that I'm going to write as a decimal, which is 0,5. That is a half. I'm going to write times, before the dot refers to times. Your base is 50, and your height is 40 times 40. Alright. And now you are going to take your subject of the formula down, which is A, and you're going to do the calculation of 0.5 times 50 times 40, and that is going to give you 1000. The unit is meter, and you are going to write meter square down like that. Okay, that will give you 3 marks. 1 mark for the writing down of the formula, 1 for the calculation, and 1 mark for the answer. Sometimes we tend to give that a mark as well. Okay, if we look at the following, and that is your circle. Now the circle has a center point, and it has a circumference, and from the center point to the circumference, anywhere around here, there, anywhere is called your radius. That's very important. Those are the rules. From the center point to anywhere touching the circumference is called your radius. The instruction says calculate the area again of the circle with a radius of 25. So you need to ensure that there is 25. You know your radius is 25. They provide you with the formula for the area of a circle. So you need to write the area down first. Area equals pi. Now pi is always used when circles are calculated. Pi r squared. Right? These are all times. Where pi is 3,142. So area equals pi now. Now you're going to substitute. Pi, the value of pi is 3,142. Times r is the radius. That's 25. And because the radius has been squared, meaning that is r times r. This is basically what it means, r times r, and that means it's 25 times 25. Area equals, and now you're going to use your calculator, 3.142 times 25 times 25, and your answer is going to be that on my calculator there. 1963,75. And the unit of measure is centimeter squared. Please do not forget the unit of measure, centimeter squared, because we're working with area. Alright, that concludes question number 3, area of 2D shapes. Just to point out the marking again, we could either give a mark for the calculation, a mark for the correct answer, and a mark for the unit that you are presenting with your answer. That's very important. So that's 3 marks. And that's how you attain your 3 marks. We're moving on to question number 4, which is straight line geometry. Okay, I'm going to highlight mine because that's the focus area at this moment. You find the diagram here, and in the line diagram here below is A, B, C. Right? A, B, C. That's the line, straight line diagram, or the straight line angle. And you need to find the value of x, and this is the value of x here. That has been given to you. That is 63 degrees, and this is 42 degrees. And you need to determine what x is, and you need to supply a reason or reasons for your answer. Okay, very simple. This is how you tackle this question. On your blank sheet of paper, you need to understand that because this is a straight line and that is an angle on a straight line, so that there equals 180 degrees. All of this add up to 180 degrees. So if I must write a formula, I'm going to say the 63 degrees plus x plus 42 degrees all equal to 180, because that is basically what I have. And my reason here is going to be a straight line angle. Okay, that's a symbol for angle, straight line angle. That is my reason. So I'm going to get a mark for my reason, and I'm going to get a mark for my formula. That plus that plus that all equal to 180. Right. Now I'm going to simplify, because this now becomes an equation. There's an equal sign. This side must be worked out according to that side over there. It's an equation. So I'm going to write my equal sign down first. And I'm going to take all these constants here, right? That value and that value, and I'm going to put it on this side where it's part of my constants. And I'm going to leave the x here. I'm putting all the pears here and all the apples on that side basically. So I'm going to leave the x here, and I'm going to put my 180 down, and I'm going to take the 63 and put it over. Now at the moment, very importantly, that is a positive 63 that you see there. Right? That you must keep in mind. So the rule is, once you put it over the equal sign, once you put it over the equal sign, this sign here changes to negative. If it was negative, it would have changed to positive. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that across. That becomes now negative 63 degrees. It was positive. I put it over the equal sign. It becomes negative 63. I've got positive 42 here. I'm going to put it over the equal sign. It becomes negative 42 degrees. Alright, now I can simplify. I'm going to write x down equals 180 degrees, then minus 63 degrees. Right? That gives you 117 minus 42 degrees. And that's going to give you an amount of 75 degrees. So x here is basically 75 degrees. So we need to check. So if you say 75 plus 63 plus 42, it should amount to 180 degrees, which we have here. Okay, so that is a 4-mark question. 1 mark there, 2 marks here, and 1 mark for the answer. Sorry, I just need 1 mark here for the formula, 1 mark for the reason, and then 1 mark would be for the calculation and the answer. Okay, that is basically what straight line geometry is all about. Let's turn our attention to the question number 5, which is the algebraic expressions. I'm going to highlight that because that's the focus area now. And this is how you're going to answer the question in your exam. So you will have an expression, right? There's an expression 10x plus 5x squared minus 12. Okay, so 5.1 asks for the arrangement in descending order. Descending order means from the highest to the lowest of powers. So that's little 2 there, that is a power. So what you're going to do is descending that entire part here, including the sign, that becomes your biggest one. So 5x to the power 2, right? It is descending order of powers. That becomes your biggest power because there's no other bigger power here. Then you take 10, and that 10 is a plus in front of it, plus 10x. And then of course you will have your negative 12 here. That is 1 mark, and that is the descending order of powers of the expression. Okay, let's look at the next one. 5.2, write down the coefficient of x to the power 2. The coefficient means the value in front of x to the power 2. That is positive 5. Okay, positive 5 is the value, the coefficient, the value in front of x squared, positive 5. Let's go to 5.3. What is the value of the constant term? The constant term is the term without the x. That there, including the sign, it is going to be negative 12. That is your constant term, negative 12. If you only write 12, the answer is going to be incorrect. It is the sign included as well. 5.4, how many terms does the expression have? How many terms? So what divides an expression into terms? 2 things. And that's the rule. Only plus and minus actually separate terms. Not multiplication, nor does division. Those do not separate terms. I want to be clear. Only these 2. And you see there, so if you look at that, this is one term. There's a separation of plus, that's another term, and the separation of minus, that's another term. So you're going to have the separation of plus and minus, which leaves us with 3 terms. Okay, that's your answer. And then, what is the exponent of x, 10 to the 10x, basically? So there's an exponent here which you can't see. If you look at this specific one, there's a 2 there. And if you write it in descending order of powers, you're going to find 10. What do you think is there? There is a 1 there, which we don't normally write down, but learners, you need to understand that there is a 1. So that, if they ask you what is the exponent at 10x, your answer is going to be 1. There's a little 1 there which we don't normally write, but learners, we need to assume that the 1 is there. And that concludes the algebraic expressions, and that would leave you with 5 marks that you will attain for that question. We turn our attention to question number 6, and that is common and decimal fractions. And I want to highlight, because that is the focus now at this stage, question number 6, common and decimal fractions. Simplify each of the fractions below. Each one is worth 2 marks. So there we have 3 quarters plus 4 fifths. Right? 3 over 4 plus 4 over 5. You cannot just say 3 plus 4 and 4 plus 5. You can't say that. I want to be very clear, you can't say that. Here at the bottom, here, between the 4 and the 5, you have to find the lowest common multiple, the LCM. And I'll tell you what that is. So the first thing that you must do is always write the sum down. So 3 over 4 plus 4 over 5. Right. And then you are going to create the lowest common multiple, where you are going to say the lowest common multiple, if I take that 5 and put it here, 4 times 5 and 5 times 4. The answer both here will give me 20. 4 times 5 and 5 times 4 gives me 20. Right? That's 20 is the lowest common multiple. But also remember what you do at the bottom here, you must do at the top as well. So 5 there and times 4 here. So now you're going to bring the operation down, which is plus, and you're going to say 3 times 5, similarly like you've said 4 times 5 here, 3 times 5, that gives you 15. And 4 times 4, that gives you 16. And now you're going to take the sum this way, because I don't have space here, but you can work in a vertical format. 5 and 16 will give you 31 over 20. That now, boys and girls, is an improper fraction. Right? So you need to simplify that. You need to ask yourself, how many times does 20 go into 31? Once. Right? The answer is once. If that is only once, what is the difference between 20 and 31? That's going to be 11. So you're going to write 11 on top and the 20 remains at the bottom here. So that is 1 full, and 11 over 20 would be my answer when it is in a mixed number format. So there's an improper fraction. It is not wrong if you leave your answer like this, but it is best mathematical practice to put your answer in a mixed number format, which is 1 whole and 11 over 20. And this can't be further simplified. Okay. So there would be your 2 marks. Now, if you look at 6.2, which is multiplication, the rules are completely different. You write your sum down, 5 over 6 times 3 over 4. Here we don't need, in multiplication is the operation, we don't need an LCM. It only works for plus and minus. LCM only works for plus and minus. When it's multiplication, it is very straightforward. That top numerator here times with that numerator there, this denominator times with that denominator here. 5 times 3, that's 15. 6 times 4, that is 24. Right? The question that you must ask yourself, can I simplify? Is there any value that goes into 15 that goes into 24 as well? Yes, there is. I can put 3 into 15. That's going to give me 5. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 3 goes into 24 8 times. Can I simplify it any further? No, I can't. There's nothing that goes into 5 and 8 at the same time without a remainder. So 5 over 8 would then be my answer. 2 marks there. Alright, let's go to the next one. I just want to get it clear again. So we have 6.3. We have a division. Watch carefully. So I'm going to write down my sum, which is 2 over 3 divided by 1 over 4, which is a quarter. Now, you can't divide like that, right? Or you can, but I'm going to show you a much simpler method of dividing, where you don't have to put this on top of that, which complicates things. So, the rule is, when you have a division here, is to write the first fraction as is, change this to a multiplication, but when you change that to multiplication, then you swap these two around. So the 4 goes on top, denominator becomes the numerator, and the 1 becomes the denominator, which was the numerator, 4 over 1. And now it's a normal sum like you have it here. That times that times that. 2 times 4, that is going to be 8. 3 times 1, that's going to be 3. Now, this is an improper fraction. An improper fraction means that the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So we need to simplified and convert it to a mixed number. So how do you do that? You say 3 goes into 8. How many times? 3, 6, twice. So that's going to be twice. Your 3 is going to remain here at the bottom, which is your denominator. You're going to ask now, 2 times 3 is 6. And then that 6, the difference between the 6 and the 8 there is 2. Alright? So that's going to be 2, which is the remainder of this simplification here. 2 and 2 over 3. 2 and 2/3 basically is your answer. Okay? Just remember this operation here. Multiplication takes over from the division, and the second one swaps. The second one swaps from numerator to denominator and the other way around. Alright, let's look at the decimal fractions here. 0,9 times 0,5, very easy. You look at how many spaces taken up by both. So there's one and there's another one, so there are 2 spaces taken up. And then you remove the comma. You just say, you write the sum down, times 0,5, like that. And then there are 2 spaces taken up. Then you say 9 times 5, which basically gives you 45, right? And then all you do is, because there were 2 spaces now taken up after the comma, there must be 2 spaces after the comma, so the comma must be here, 2 spaces, 1 for that one, and 1 for this one, 2, and then a 0 in front there, and that brings you to your answer. Okay, just apply that rule. And then of course the simpler of the 4 or the 5 is where you have a plus and a minus. So all you have to do is to write it in vertical format, 7,40, and keep the commas in one line. So you're going to say 3 and 4, 2. You're going to add that because it wants you to add it. That's going to give you 2. That's going to give you 8. That comma remains there. That's going to give you 10. Then you take that 10 and you put that 10, 8, 2 there. You now minus the 2, 6, 7. And that is going to leave you with saying 2 minus 7. You know that can't, so you've got to borrow here. That becomes 7. Remember the rule in grades 6 and 7. That becomes 7. This becomes 12. So it's a 10 that you borrow there. That becomes 12. 12 minus 7 is going to give you 5. 7 minus 6 is going to give you 1. And your comma is there. And 10 minus 2 is going to give you 8. And that becomes your answer there. You get 1 mark here and 1 mark there. Alright. And that basically covers that section on common and decimal fractions. We turn our attention to question number 7, and that deals with the algebraic equations. Now I'm going to highlight that again because that's the focus now. I have 2 equations here where the instruction asks me to solve for x, 7.1 and 7.2. Let's look at the first one. So the equation is 5x minus 3 equals 27. Now remember the previous equation we had, the equal sign plays a very important role because that is like the border between the two. So what we're going to do is we have values, a coefficient with the variable here, the x, leave on this side, and that is the constant which is similar to that. We put that on the one side. So I'm going to leave 5x here, and I'm going to take negative 3. Negative 3 is going to be put over to the side of the 27, but remember the rule is that the minus sign now changes to a positive, because that's the rule. If it goes over the equal sign, the sign in front changes. So that's going to be 5x 27 now plus 3. Right? The sign changed. Now we're going to simplify. We're going to say 5x equals 27 plus 3. That leaves me with 30. I want x alone. I need to get rid of this x. How do I get rid of this x? I divide by 5. So whatever value you have here in front of the x, you divide it by that value. So in this case it's 5, so you divide by 5. But the rule is, whatever you do on this side of the equals sign, you must do this side as well. So divide by 5 here as well. 5 divided by 5 gives you 1, so that's x. Remember there's a 1 here which we don't normally write. Equals 30 divided by 5 gives us 6, and that is basically the value of x in the equation. Alright, let's look at another one, number 7.2. Here we have 2x bracket x plus 1 equals to 10. Let's write it down. We're going to say 2 bracket x plus 1 close bracket equals 10. According to the BODMAS law, you have to simplify what's in the brackets first. You have to get rid of the brackets. So the rule here is that 2 now multiplies with that there, the x, and it multiplies with that 1 there. And then the brackets are removed. So let me do that. 2 times x is 2x, right? That's 2x. 2 times 1 is positive 2. 2 times 1, positive 2, equals 10. Now we're back here. So all I have to do is, that is a constant, I want to put it on the side of the constants. So 2x stays on this side, equals, my 10 stays here, I take that, I put it over, the sign changes. So that becomes negative 2. And then I simplify 2x equals 10 minus 2 is 8. Remember what I said. How do I get rid of that 2? Because I want x alone, like I have x alone here. Divide by 2. And what you do on this side, you do on the other side as well. That leaves us with x equals 8 divided by 2. For, in this case, x equals to 4. Alright. And what you can do is to check whether your work is actually correct, is that you can take that 4 and simply put it into the value of x here. So if that value there was 4, then you say 4 plus 1 is 5 times 2 equals 10. That's how you check whether you have worked the equation out correctly. Let's do this one. Here you're going to find x equals to 6. 5 times, that's 5 times 6 is 30 minus 3 gives us 27. And that's how you check whether you have worked out the equation correctly. Right, boys and girls, we're looking at question 8, algebraic graphs. And here we are faced with a table, and there is a function here. That function is y equals to negative 4x plus 3. That is the rule, the function or the formula, whichever way you want to call it. Then you have a table of input values, negative 2, 0, positive 2. This is the empty spaces here where you need to fill in the y values from the given function or formula. Alright, this is how you're going to fill those gaps. You are going to write the formula down by saying negative 4, and you can say y equals to negative 4, y equals to negative 4, x plus 3. Alright, and now you're going to say y equals negative 4, and you place that negative 2 and substitute it into the x value. So you're going to have a bracket, negative 2 in there, positive 3. Alright, that's what you are going to do. And then you are going to say y equals negative 4 times negative 2. Now let me break it down for you. 4 times 2, that is going to give us 8. No doubt. That's going to give us 8. But a negative times a negative is going to give you a positive. So there's going to be a positive sign there which we don't write. We only write negatives. Right? So that's positive 8. Plus the 3 that's here at the back. And y equals then, if you simplify it, is going to be 11. Y is going to be 11, so I'm going to put 11 in there. Right, that's how you work out the first one by substituting 2 in there. So now we're going to do the other one. You're going to write y equals to negative 4x plus 3. Y equals negative 4, and you simply put 0 in that bracket plus 3. Y equals negative 4 times 0, that's going to be 0 plus 3. Y is going to be 3. Okay, that is basically your answer that you're going to put into that bracket. Let's do another one to fill up this one here. You're going to say y equals to negative 4x plus 3. Y equals negative 4, and we substitute that 2 in there, plus 3. Y equals negative 4. So here we go, there's a positive there. 4 times 2, that's going to definitely give us 8. A negative times a positive is going to give us a negative 8 plus 3. So you have positive 3, negative 8. The rule is, when you have a negative and a positive, you need to subtract. Negative and a positive, subtract. The difference between 8 and 3 is going to be 5. But 8 is the bigger value, so that sign is going to be taken there. Right? Dominance here over the subordinate 3 there. Right? The dominant sign there, which is taken with a 5. And that is your answer, and that 5 will be put in the negative 5. And that's how you get your table sorted out. Okay? You have to show us all of this. If you understand these things here, you will have no problem in putting in these values here from the given formula. Alright. So if we move to 8.1.2, now you are going to take these ones. Now I want to highlight, these were your answers which you're going to get 3 or 4 marks for. And you have to now take that information and neatly sketch a graph on graph paper which will be attached. So there's the graph paper, and I will speak about the graph now. So just remember, we have 11, 3 and negative 5. So it has to be taken into consideration when you are going to draw your graph. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my graph on my graph paper. So you'll take your graph paper, it's an attachment to your question paper. Please, you must make sure that you write your name, right, and your surname there, okay, and your grade, whichever grade, C, D, A or B, whichever grade you are in. That's very important. And then you will find you have this grid page here. Now remember, there's a thick line here which represents your y-axis like that, and your x-axis like that. That point there is 0. So you're going to have positive numbers here to this side. So you can use perhaps positive 1 here, which is that there, positive 2, positive 3, 4, 5, 6. And the same thing, negative to this side, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, and negative 6. Okay, that's very important. And then we can have 1, 2. Right? If you look at your graph, you can have a scale of values which would be 1, 2, 3, and you can actually have values like multiples of 2, 2, and then 4, and then 6, and then that would be 8, 10, then 12. Especially if your values go quite high in your X box, which is that box over there. You can see 11 is quite high, so we're going to do that up until 12, and then we are going to do -2, -4, -6, -8, -10, -12. Right, now we have that. Now we're going to plot. So if you're going to look at our first two values which we are going to plot the graph, and I'm going to take this value, I'm going to write it down here on my page. It's -2 and then 11. The second one is going to be 0, because you have your x values first and then your y values, the way you write it is as coordinates, and you're going to have 3 there. And then the third one would be 2, this is your x value, and -5 is your y value. So let's plot those 3 points on our graph and see how it's going to work out. So I'm going to look at my first value, which is my x value. So I'm going to start here at 0. So that is -2. So I've got to work my x. My x works that way. My y works up and down. So x, -2, it has to go this side. So I'm there, -2 now. And then it is +11. So I've got to go up. There's 10. 11 is probably going to be in between 12 and 10. That's 11. That's my first point there, which is that over there. Then I go to my second point. I see 0. There's no movement this way, 0. But there is movement up to my 3. My 3 is probably going to be here between 2 and 4 on my 0 point. It doesn't move away there. And then thirdly, you're going to have +2 on my x. There's +2. And -5, which means I have to go down. That's 4. -5 is probably going to be here in between 4 and 6. Right. So if I clearly plot my points, you're going to get a mark for each of the points. And then if you take a ruler or a straight edge, like I'm going to do, and I'm going to connect all 3 points in one single line, which basically tells me that we have a straight line graph with a formula of y equals to -4x plus 3. And that is my straight line graph that I have there. So a mark for each of the correct points and another mark for the straight line that you draw through each of the 3 points to connect those points in a straight line. Alright, that's how you plot your graph. Let's look at question number 8.2, continuing with graph. You need to consider this graph here, which basically represents the temperature of a hot beverage, a hot drink like hot chocolate or coffee. And there you have the temperature of the coffee or the hot chocolate or the hot beverage, and this is the time. Now, as you can see that when I poured my coffee into the cup, we had a temperature of close to, or say 90 degrees, and as time progressed, the coffee became cooler, right, until it's completely cold if this graph had to continue. So we need to answer certain questions pertaining to the graph. Question number 1, identify the dependent variable. So the dependent variable is temperature, because temperature is dependable on time. You know, the longer time progresses or stretches out or continues, to put it that way, the colder the temperature becomes. So temperature is in fact the dependent variable, temperature. Okay, make sure that you understand that. And then in this graph, is this graph continuous or discrete? Right? Continuous means that is there a line connecting certain points, or is it just plotted points? I can clearly see that there's a line connecting various points here. So the graph is in fact continuous. Right? So you can write the word continuous down there. And then 8.2.3, what is the temperature of the hot drink after 3 minutes? So you look at the amount of minutes, that's 3 minutes over there, and the temperature after 3 minutes, so you're going to try and work out some sort of coordinate here. What is the temperature after 3 minutes? And you link that temperature to something here, and if I must be accurate, it is between 50 and 40. I'm going to say that temperature would be 45 degrees Celsius. Okay? So I must take my ruler and just bring that up till there and bring that across to be able to, so you're going to work at a 90-degree angle. That would be between 50 and 40, and that would be for me in the middle. 45 degrees Celsius is the temperature. How long does it take for the temperature to reach 70 degrees Celsius? So how long does it take for the temperature to reach 70 degrees Celsius? So you are going to see here is 70 degrees Celsius. There it was 90. So if you take this line across here, whenever the line touches the 70, you need to jot that down there. So I would say probably a minute. You know, I'm going to round it off by saying 1 minute does it take for the temperature to reach 70 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that's what you need to write down in your answer for those questions that you have there. Alright, so grade 8, so we're looking at the final question, which is question number 9, and it refers to Pythagoras, and I'm going to highlight that question. It says here that all units are in centimeters, and it refers to the sketch below, which is a right angle triangle, and Pythagoras' theorem deals with right angle triangles. You will find, if you examine the triangle, that there's a side, the hypotenuse side, which is the slanted side, AC, which is unknown. You will have AB, which is 9 centimeters, and you will have BC, which is 40 centimeters. So you need to start by writing Pythagoras' theorem down, and Pythagoras' theorem means that side AC squared equals AB squared plus BC squared. And you need to reference Pythagoras on the side here. Pythagoras. Okay? You get a mark for that and you get a mark for that. Then, this is unknown. You don't have that. These two together squared will give you that. So we will have to say, let's maintain the unknown there of the equation. And we say AB squared, that is AB, which is going to be 9 squared plus BC squared is 40 squared. AC squared equals 9. 9 squared means 9 times 9, that is 81, plus 40 squared means 40 times 40, which gives us 1,600. We simplify that by saying 81 plus 1,600 is 1,681. We need to remove this square here at the top, and the only way you can remove that is to cancel it out with the opposite, which is the square root sign here. That would cancel that. But remember, what you do on this side, you have to do on the other side of the equation as well. Once you have that square root sign over the square sign here, you will just have, it will cancel each other out, and you will just be sitting with AC, and now AC equals the square root of 1,681, which is going to be 41 as an answer, with centimeters as your unit And that leaves you with the answer there. Alright? Please go through this question paper as many times as possible to clear up some uncertainties that you might have with the various components of math. I am confident enough to say that once you have gone through this video and you've worked through this paper on your own, you will be ready to do your exam once we will encounter that next week. All the best with the studying of math and all other learning areas as well.